Senor Carlos. So where are we?
Oh, dude, I haven't even brushed my teeth yet.
It's okay, we can't smell.
Okay. You're not gonna f with me on that, right?
But of course. You f with us, we fuck with you.
See, I know you're not gonna use any of that, so you can't use that foul language. Anyway, we're overlooking from Canal.
So we're in...
And you see Eustacia, St. Kitts, Nevis, St. Bart's over there. Turning over there.
And this is called Point Blanche?
Yeah, Point Blanche. This is Monte Cristo. That's the harbor down there.
You guys have a hell of a view from up here.
Yeah.
I don't remember it being like this though. Wasn't there trees in front before? In this area or two? Or was this always overlooking?
Yeah, this hasn't moved.
No, but there wasn't any taller trees here?
No. This one here we cut down all the time.
Okay.
But, yeah, we had Mother Nature kind of like skimmed everything down. And you can see where all the roofs are being still rebuilt 9 months afterwards. Long recovery.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it's just a matter of time and patience and getting the funds. Hoping this tourists come back and kind of help us out there.
So we're here in Chesterfields with the owner Jeff, and yeah, I know this property. I was in here a couple of years ago and I think met with you. And I do remember the property because I know Brian DeHer as well, and it's his family that owns or manages the marina?
Owns it. You see the containers over there on that piece of vacant property? Well, they were flying through the air.
Yeah, I saw some very mangled up containers.
Yeah, well, you can't see it, but this is a 2-story building behind us, you know, or part of the building. Mm-hmm. And we had containers hitting the roof up there, if you can believe that. They were also excavating for the port at that time. So there was about a 4-story pile of sand over there.
Yeah.
And when one of the containers landed on this roof and destroyed the roof here, and we had a foot of sand in this place after Lenny. There are still outlets we were opening up during the renovation, this renovation, that had sand in them, you know. That's how bad it was. But yeah, but nothing compared to this latest IRMA. I mean, it was just, you know, I mean, you just can't build to withstand a hurricane like that, really.
Ahoy, Moonchild. Anybody home?
Hello.
Reg.
Welcome aboard, Rick.
How are you, man?
Pretty good. Watch your step.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you. Welcome aboard.
Yeah, good to see you, man.
Yeah, so this is where...
Glad to see you got back from Canada, and this is where you hang your hat.
Yeah, this is where I hang my hat, and I'm very grateful to be back.
Moonchild.
It has become home.
So Reg is a good friend of mine from Canada for over 20 years. I met him through his company in Canada called Weather Eye Yacht Sales. And back when I was originally, you know, selling, buying, like just moving from boat to boat, I went through 3 different sailboats. And I talked to Reg quite a few times in between the 2 boats. And he had, a long time ago, decided to up and move down to St. Martin. So when I ended up down in St. Martin about 10 years ago, ran into him again, and you've been here ever since. And you came down here, and I think you guys were pretty much unscathed most of these years. I know there was some storms back in the 90s, right?
I've been here since 2002. Since I've been here, we've had 5 named storm events, and 2 of them have produced significant damage, insurance claims, and have disrupted the industry. Gonzales being the most recent, and Omar before that in 2008 was an eventful storm. But you know, I would like to make this point that the island has had experience with storms and has learned to prepare and to deal with storms as best as possible. Mm-hmm. We weren't able to do much about the extraordinary event of IRMA because the storm was off the charts, literally.
And you were here during the storm?
I was.
Were you on the boat?
I was not on the boat. I was staying in a condo behind us, that condo right over there.
Okay.
And we had the boat suspended between 2 finger docks with 16 lines and a bow line across the marina. And there was sufficient suspension and slack in the lines so that the boat was able to work around within the pressures it was feeling from different directions, because as the storm passes over, it comes from different directions, of course. The wind direction changes. But I came to the window of the condo at 7 in the morning when the storm was at its fiercest at the first half, and when I looked out the window, it looked as if the boat was in the Anguilla Channel in 10-foot waves, rocking up and down at 10 knots of speed. And I watched for 5 minutes, but I couldn't bear to watch any longer. I had to go back and go back into the... by then I was exhausted. We were preparing all the day before, but I couldn't watch any longer. It was painful to watch.
The airport's still closed. I mean, it's 9 months after, and it's still closed. So
You're not getting international flights coming in?
we do, but just like a few compared to like every day.
Is that related to the capacity of the airport, or just the airlines willing to come?
Both, and the availability for rooms, because if you don't have the rooms, it doesn't matter how many people you bring in, they can't stay anywhere.
What's the blue and white one in Simpson Bay? What's it called?
Simpson Bay, Royal Palm Beach Resort.
Royal Palm, that one's closed. You said that's 2020 before it's going to open?
2020, correct.
And yet from the outside it looks almost normal, but you hear them inside with jackhammers every day.
The rooms were blasted. The pressure when it came down, it blew out all the windows and doors.
Yeah.
And then afterwards we had Maria. So Maria, what Irma didn't do, Maria kind of like gave a blessing too. So that was water. So that was like rain for like 4 or 5 days, and with no roofs and no doors and no windows, it just flooded everything. So we had mildew, we had mold, and we had all the furniture, all the electrical stuff completely gone. So it's a matter of just time and rebuilding.
Yeah, everybody's saying it's kind of like it was 40 years ago.
Yeah. I think that's, you know, and it looks, I think, better, you know, so now you can rebuild a little bit stronger, and the way you should have before the hurricanes. And, you know, it's nice. And people, you know what, they're friendlier now than they were before, because they understand, you know, tourism and how important it was. And they're just like overly friendly, you know, they're just glad to be alive, as we are too, so it's all good.
So when Irma went through, were you here or up in the house?
I was up in the house.
It went through at night here, right?
Well, it started, yeah, late in the afternoon and at night. Initially, we had it out of the south. You know how hurricanes track?
Yeah.
And I looked at the internet about an hour before we got the worst of it. And the winds were a sustained 185 miles an hour with gusts of 220 miles an hour.
That's before the worst of it.
Yeah, that was, oh yeah. And we literally,
Can't even imagine.
we had the eye over the house for about 40 minutes where you could walk outside, you know, and at that point, because it was out of the south and my location up there, the damage wasn't that extensive. But then when it swung around and passed us and the wind swung out of the north, and that's pretty much the story for the entire island. The Dutch were very supportive here. They brought in emergency crews, a huge ship loaded with every kind of equipment you can imagine. And we've been through this before, so everybody knows what they have to do. Our local electrical company and utility company, they had most of the island running up with power within, I would say, a month, which is pretty, you know, I mean, you know, part of that's attributable to the underground cabling that we do, or they do. And so we were quite lucky as far as that goes, you know.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that. So it's mostly underground here.
Mostly underground on the Dutch side.
Wow.
Yeah, and that makes a huge difference. You know, the cost and infrastructure to put that in place is more than paid back when you consider how quickly the power
It
does
costs to
come
keep
back.
rebuilding it when you got to put
Yeah,
up new
well,
power
that's
and
the
all
other
that.
thing. You know, you haven't been to Anguilla yet.
No.
They're all above ground, and you know, up until a month ago, some of them, and we're talking 7, 8 months after, some of them still didn't have power on the, you know, either end of the island. So it's pretty, yeah. You see that house right over there, that little shed? There's nothing bigger than a 2x4 in that, and that was basically untouched. It's gotten a fresh coat of paint, but basically untouched.
Seriously?
Yeah. We have, you know, 3x8s and 4x12s. This beam is 4 4x12s sandwiched. And right over the bar, it was cracked in half, and that's, you know, so yeah.
How is that even possible?
You do wonder sometimes.
So today we are here in St. Martin at the newly rebuilt St. Martin Yacht Club, and we are in the company of the Minister of Finance for St. Martin, which is Mr. Mike Ferrier, and he's here to talk to us a little bit about the recovery progress on the island, how things have gone so far, what's needed coming up, you know, where the businesses are at, the hotel structure, the infrastructure, things like that, and just how the funding is going and where the funding is coming from. So it's been nice to meet you. Thank you for coming out, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Very much appreciated. And I've been to several of the islands now and seen like major devastation. I mean, we were in Grenada, safely away from the hurricane belt at the time that IRMA and followed by Maria. But in coming up here and seeing Dominica and even the French side here and everything, it's amazing to see that the Dutch side has progressed so much faster than everybody else. And I'm assuming it's the same thing for the British Virgin Islands, because I've heard that they are still major devastation and the British are not really stepping up. But it seems like the Dutch side here has been getting some help, maybe from Holland, or is it just the independent businesses? Like,
No, I need to tell you very proudly that I'm extremely proud of the people of St. Martin, and I'm specifically talking about our constituency, which is Dutch St. Martin. Mm-hmm. St. Martin is a 37 square mile island that is separated, that is divided by two. 21 square miles is French, and really part of France, part of the country France. Mm-hmm. And we are a semi-autonomous, not a semi, we are an autonomous part of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. 16 square miles of Dutch side St. Martin, whereby we have a lot of, how must I put that? We're almost like a little country within the kingdom.
okay.
So what we have now is a situation where we have over $2.3 billion worth of damage, of which the Dutch, which is the original, what we used to call the mother country, but we step away from the neo-colonial time types of expressions. They came up and they said, listen, you know, this thing is really big and St. Martin probably can't do it on its own, and we are prepared to help you with some of it. Mm-hmm. And they offered 550 million euros back in, I think it was the end of November.
Say that translates to roughly $650 US dollars.
Million dollars, right. Right. This time, when the hurricane hit, which was a much more powerful hurricane, much more intense, we were out of power for some areas by days. Within days, certain areas had current again, simply because in 1995, the looking ahead was, let's put this stuff underground. Mm-hmm. Because if you look at, for instance, Puerto Rico, where all the lines are above ground, or most of them are above ground, they've had grid problems, and they're a U.S. country, yeah. and there's a lot of places that still are out of power 8 months after. Yeah. But just think that we live in a situation where we have put on our big boys pants and said we want to be autonomous, we want to run things ourselves, mm-hmm. So we need to figure out how to fix it. Now, if the fact that we have gotten this 550 million euros that they've been offered, which we can get hold of the 550, there's 470 million that we actually will end up with as a grant, and with a lot of strings attached with the World Bank and everything else. So,
oh, that's what I was going to ask. If we ever establish it is a grant, not so much a loan, so it doesn't need to be repaid.
The 470 is a grant. That has only been determined on, I think it was April 16th, when finally the agreement was signed between the World Bank and Holland.
Oh, just recently.
And like I say, so the hurricane happened September 6th.
6-7 months later.
So you're talking, exactly. So that's before the agreement was put in place. Mm-hmm. So again, not to sound like as a Minister of Finance, I'm not grateful. I'm just saying the whole process took a lot longer than everybody mm-hmm. thought. Everybody who's not living here, because I certainly identified that the process would take a lot longer than we could use, because up to today we still have people without roofs in certain areas and stuff like that. So everybody's still fending for themselves.
Never a good sign or a good sound. But today we continue my hurricane series with my friends at Toppers. So we're here to meet with Topper himself and his wife Melanie, and they've been in business here in St. Martin forever, have a really great restaurant, their own rum distillery, everything. And we're just here at the restaurant here now. So I'm going to go in and talk to them, and just want to hear a little bit about their stories and experience on the island and what life was like on the island, you know, during, a little bit before, a little after the storm, and just what their personal experience was. So just going to go in and see if they're here. There he is, Mr. Topper himself.
Hey, how you doing, Rick?
Good, man, you all right?
Good, thank you.
All right, so today finds us in St. Martin in Simpson Bay, and we are here at my friend's Toppers, which is a restaurant bar right on the water's edge and right on the main road. So just talking about everybody helping everybody the day after the storm.
Yeah, I think there was a fellowship, if you will, amongst everybody. Everybody had the same, like I said earlier, we had the same story, different attitudes, and we all needed help. People came, like my wife said, that even if they had grudges together, everything would disappear. Everybody had to be a brother and a sister.
Or reduced to a common level.
Yeah, everybody got to a common level to.
It was quite beautiful.
And it was really beautiful to see. I remember driving down in the morning of the second day, Melanie and I in a car, and seeing Big John and all the guys, the girls, cleaning the horrific mess. I said, "You guys, I love you guys. We can't pay you. We don't want you. We want to make sure everybody's back." And that's the kind of scene you saw, not just here, but everywhere.
Everyone was grateful that everyone was alive. It was a lot of hugging and a lot of helping, and people needed to be together too. That was another reason why we wanted to open. People could come and have a place where they could have a drink and just kind of share their story, because you need to talk. You know, that's how you can get through. You need to tell your story.
That was one of the stories came out of some of my friends very early days, is they were saying, yeah, the first place to open, or one of the first places, was Toppers right there.
Yeah, I think we probably were the first to open.
We lost all of our equipment because we flooded very bad, so it got into all of our compressors and everything else. So we got a barbecue grill out front. We put out some music out there, and you know, we just started.
And the guys we had to bring the music with said, "How much I have to pay?" They said, "Nothing." You know,
so we
we'll have
fed
a piece of chicken.
Were you just running a generator or something to keep it
running
up?
the generator. Oh, and ice was interesting. And every day I'd make a new menu. It'd have 2 or 3 items.
Gold.
And then finally we're like, we have ice. That was our big selling point, is we have ice. And you'd get like maybe 2 cubes in your drink. We'd drive all over the island to try and find some ice.
Yeah, look what's remaining here. Lost his entire backyard.
He's got on YouTube, his videos have 50 million views so far.
George.
50 million.
Roger. All right, sir. Good to see you.
Oh, nice to see you. All right, sorry. You want to stand here? Oh, we're stand. Oh, we're doing an interview. Oh,
You're right in the middle of rebuilding, huh?
definitely a lot to do. I've done a lot. You can't really see as much. So many little things that have to be done. It just takes a lot of time.
Did you lose most of the inside of the building also?
Well, we lost the hurricane shutters. The waves took the hurricane shutters out. Waves are breaking over the bar in here. There are waves this high in here coming over the bar. And when they snapped the shutters out, then everything inside just got completely inundated and just washed right down the hallway, right out through the front shutter. There was stuff out in the parking lot that was supposed to be inside here. And you know, and I said, and of course my main lobster tank was over here trying to go in the bathroom, and well, I had a big ice machine that I brought from outside and put in by the lobster tank, and I was down here trying to go into the bathroom, and no, it was pretty much devastation. The building didn't sustain much damage because it's concrete and steel.
Yeah.
And so, and it has a facade, you know, it's a siding, it's a cement board siding. So we lost some cement board, but they've repaired that and been repainted, and so the front looks fine. It's like a movie set, you know. It's like the front's fine, but there's nothing behind it, you know. You can see the water. As I said, there was standing water was a foot high in here, because we had water on the tile in the bathroom that was just a foot up.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, waves were just rolling down here. But we cleaned up a lot of this. But if you come over, it's probably hard to see. If you look over Here, I don't know if you can see with the camera, but you can see, this is all seaweed and sand is all still in here from the floor, and all the floor is buckled from the water. Oh, you can see it here, Gunnar. You can see right here, you see all this? This is all sand and seaweed that was, a foot of water in it. Of course, everything in the kitchen was, was completely inundated with water and mud and stuff. Everything's been cleaned up, but we have to get new stoves and ovens and refrigerators and grills, ice machine, all that have to be replaced.
Lots to do yet.
Oh yeah.